In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Populous skies, troubled ground. With your hosts, Gypsy King and Dr. Nothing.
Hundreds of military employees and contractors who may have bought child pornography online but haven't been prosecuted or even in some cases investigated. That's right, you heard me, child pornography. As many as 1,700 names, according to a U.S. Senator, on a list of 5,200 from an internet sting operation overlooked the first time around 4 years ago. Only now are they supposedly getting a second look, and only after pressure from investigative reporters and the U.S. Senator you're about to hear from, Republican Charles Grassley. Pentagon porn story began in 2006. An Immigration and Customs Enforcement child pornography sting operation called Project Flicker produced payment records of about 5,200 people, many of whom provided Army or Fleet zip codes or military email addresses. Subsequently, the Pentagon's investigative branch, DCIS, began going through the ICE list to identify who actually was a DoD employee or a contractor. The investigation, however, only ran for 8 months and only cross-checked some 3,500 names for Pentagon ties, according to a senator. According to DCIS documents revealed in a Freedom of Information Act request, out of that 3,500, investigators uncovered 264 employees or contractors, including staffers for the Secretary of Defense and contractors at the NSA. 9 people had top security clearances. But only about 20% of those 264 people were completely investigated. Fewer still were prosecuted, and after about 8 months, the entire probe was halted. It left about 1,700 names totally unchecked, 1,700 alleged kiddie porn customers, an unknown number of whom may still work in some capacity for the Defense Department. Late last summer, after investigations by the Boston Globe and Yahoo News revealed the figures, a Pentagon spokesman promised to reopen the investigation, conceding that DCIS had stopped due to lack of resources. DCIS says it is now revisiting all 5,200 names, telling Senator Grassley's staff they've now identified 302 employees or staffers. The Pentagon's IG telling us, and I quote, "Any suggestion that the DoD Office of Inspector General or its criminal investigative arm, the DCIS, is not taking Operation Flicker and the issue of child pornography seriously is in error." But Senator Grassley says he is still not getting the cooperation he needs from the Pentagon. I spoke to him earlier. Senator Grassley, you were told that 5,200 Defense Department employees had allegedly purchased child porn, and yet you're saying only 3,500 of those names were cross-checked by a defense investigator to see if they were really DoD personnel. That's mind-boggling. Why weren't all of them cross-checked?
Well, we don't have an answer to that question, but it's quite obvious that the other 1,700 should have been cross-checked, and that's one of the answers to my questions that I want answered, and the implication of our questions is they ought to be cross-checked. We ought to find out, because we're talking about not just general pornography here. We're talking about child pornography, and child pornography, taking that down, is a crime. And also, there's an added factor here, considering the fact that there's a lot of secured information, national security information that the world shouldn't know, that a lot of times foreign operatives will use this sort of criminal activity to blackmail to get information. So there's a lot of things here that are involved because it's a Defense Department issue as opposed to any other department of government.
Right. I mean, if your numbers are correct, 1,700 people out there who allegedly purchased child porn, we don't know if they were ever cross-checked or investigated, right?
That's true, and there's been some other names in the hundreds where there's the names have actually been given out that we don't know what's going to be done about them. Now, there's some reason to believe that it's a criminal act. It's been so far since it's happened that they could be stale. Maybe you can't have criminal prosecution, but we would be looking at administrative action to be taken against these people, and I want to know who they are and what administrative action's being taken.
Yeah, because I mean, what's even more startling is that of the 302 people confirmed as DoD personnel or contractors, only 70 of them were actually investigated. I mean, how is it possible that all of them weren't investigated?
Well, here's, I think, the thing that overrides everything you just asked, and that is we ask criminal investigators in the Division of Defense that does that, the extent to which supervisors of these people knew that this was going, and the criminal investigators couldn't even answer that question for us when we had a briefing from them.
So wait a minute. So you're saying we don't even know if the supervisors of these people were told that their employees may have downloaded child porn?
That's the question that my staff asked of the criminal investigators, and they could not answer the question whether or not supervisors had been informed of this. And if supervisors don't know about it, it's a bad environment that things like this can happen in the first place, and worse, that it's a criminal act when things are downloaded.
Until you started raising this issue, this investigation was closed by the Defense Department. They only investigated for about 8 months. Do you think the Pentagon just didn't take this seriously?
Well, it's quite obvious that they didn't take it seriously, because it wasn't only that I was asking the questions. It wasn't until it started getting questions from people like you who are journalists that this got their attention, and we got any consideration and reopening of this in the first place.
Well, one of your staffers told us that getting information from the Defense Department on this has been like pulling teeth. Is that how you describe it?
Yeah. Oh, I've been involved in oversight of the Defense Department for almost all the years I've been in the United States Senate, and it's very difficult to get answers from a lot of bureaucracies, but it's quite more difficult in the Defense Department.
Senator Grassley, I appreciate your time. We'll continue to follow this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Up next.
Welcome to Program 2 of Obelus Skies. You just listened to a 2011 report on, I believe, CNN on the Pentagon issue, and lead into Ruben, Gypsy King here.
Yeah, see, the whole thing is, what I gathered is a huge cover-up, and it's just now...
I did not enjoy making this video at all,
being,
and if you have any...
For me, it's more like covered up, set aside, and then you have this Pizzagate thing popping up, and then it's like, well, wait a minute, okay, so now they debunked it, and they say that Pizzagate is a conspiracy theory. Pizzagate is not true. Journalists who mentioned Pizzagate end up apologizing for talking about it, and I'm like, okay, so now here's a situation in which a facility is used for child pornography or child sex or whatever, and instead of them trying to find more information about it, they rather destroy the information, say that this never happened, that there's no evidence. Okay, fine, there's no evidence, but these children or this event has to take place for them to produce material to show these perverts who want to watch child porn. So where are these people being housed at? How these people are getting to these children? There has to be a place where this event is taking place.
Right. Well, why aren't they identifying these children and going after this big operation?
Exactly.
They're just chopping the leaves off of the tree, pruning the tree, and the tree grows more leaves.
Yeah, so, even if Pizzagate is a scam or whatever, who in the right mind will come up with something like that? Okay, let's accuse this pizza place of having child pornography, or not just child pornography, but actually
the actual activity going on.
The actual activity going on.
It could be a smoke screen too, as a distraction. Maybe it's not the pizza place. Maybe there was something that was going to blow the whistle on a much bigger operation, and they threw this pizza thing in there to distract everybody, to disprove it. That's a tactic to discredit something that might blow the whistle on something much bigger.
And I think the biggest thing that we have, the biggest problem that we have in America is the need to feel safe. if you get one official saying that there's no evidence, there's nothing that can be classified in any way that this event took place at this facility, and if there were, we would have been on it, and blah 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 blah, and then people just go back to their normal activity. They don't blink an eye, you know. And if we need to be satisfied that this fear or this event is never taking place, and which it always takes place. You have it in the church, you have it in celebrities get caught with it, you know, and the list goes on.
Politics,
and
then, private islands and such.
And now you have the Pentagon. I mean, 1,700 people, and I didn't hear nothing in the newspaper. Nobody being arrested. I mean, Bill Cosby is still. I think they said something about him yesterday. Okay, so what the hell is going on where we're not hearing anything about this big, huge scandal with our Department of Defense? This is the department that defends the people of the United States of America who's in trouble of child pornography. Something is wrong there. I mean, something is definitely wrong.
Well, in our first program, I mentioned Project Monarch, which was developed by the CIA for mind control, and the idea of that was to use sexual abuse to subdue your enemy and make them on a number of levels. It was originally designed to create an assassin, that somebody that would do whatever it is you program or tell them to do. One of the first movies ever to present this to the silver screen was The Manchurian Candidate. That came out in 1963, I think right before JFK got assassinated. Interesting enough, the plot in that movie was somebody being programmed to assassinate the president in the movie. And I believe it was the assassin or the general that was helping the assassin out of it was played by actor Frank Sinatra.
So how does that connect to...
Well, Project Monarch specifically used a lot of different mind control tactics, and one of the main ones was you sexually abuse a child at a very young age in order to subdue them and make them controllable later in life. Because they feel shame and all that stuff, it becomes institutionalized in their psyche, in their mind, where they don't have any willpower or self-control. They become controlled by another agency.
See, there's a lot of things going on that a friend of mine told me, a friend of my mom's told me a while back. This guy who's a child counselor at a church, and he told me that when gangbangers go to prison or go to jail or whatever, and then that prison system, and when they come out, they have experienced some form of homosexuality, and then that act goes out towards members of the gang. So once the chief is released from prison, he goes to his gang and he sexually assaults these young boys and stuff like that. I didn't believe it, because I'm like, that's just crazy. That's just way out there. And he pretty much told me that these guys, confessed to him about this activity going on. And because of that, the people that they molest is now shamed and stuff like that, so they don't come out. And then they are pretty much raped and molested and stuff like that. So that's the term, is the whole mentality, where I can understand where you're coming from. But on another level, I think the mind control thing has to be something that is a little out there for me to really pull that in. Because there has to be a lot of mind control for a person to commit that act. I honestly believe that is a disease. And if one person gets a hold of it, then it can affect a person to reproduce a system. And at first they become the victim, and then later on they become a predator. You see what I'm saying? You know,
So you're just negating what you said before. First you say it's a disease, and now you're saying that it's learned.
it could be both, because it's like, for instance, if it becomes a behavior. I mean, for instance, if somebody attacks you and beats you up, that's an assault. You know, then the person who did it has something wrong with them. You see what I'm saying? But if you were beaten as a kid, and then you continue, and that abuse continues goes up, then you pick it up, and then then that becomes your behavior.
Here's the difference. When you're a kid, you're not aware of the reasons. You don't have the understanding of why that person's beating you up, so you just respond to it by being violent towards anybody. Where if somebody does that and you're older and you're understanding where that violence might be coming from, then you respond to it more appropriately, and it doesn't cause you to become a violent person.
So these children, when they get older, what becomes of them? You see what I'm saying? These children who were raped and stuff like that, if they're never freed, what becomes of these kids as adults, as teenagers, as adults, even as old men? So, I mean, it's not like they are released into the public sector. I think this goes a deeper level of slavery, and the fact that what I mean by deeper level is this is underground slavery, you know. And I think the point that a lot of people are saying sex slaves or sex things, I think in our messed up minds, it's not as horrifying as it should be. You know, the Pentagon situation should have the whole United States of America should be in an uproar. You know, there should be a huge protest that should have happened.
The protests shouldn't have had to happen. Congress should have responded appropriately to this issue, to investigate it.
Exactly. So for those who don't understand what's going on with the Pizzagate scandal, we're going to play that in a few seconds.
Investigation into the possibility of a satanic child sex trafficking and pedophilia ring involving many of the most influential, powerful, and wealthy people on Earth. Why is it called Pizzagate? WikiLeaks leaked emails from John Podesta, the former chairman of 2016 Hillary Clinton presidential campaign. Inside these emails, there appears to be code words used that appear to sound pizza-related, but are likely to be code words for various child sex or trafficking acts. Here are some of the emails featuring possible code words and the code itself. And if you read these emails, these are emails from the Podesta leaks. Many of these emails, these are just some of them, but the way that they're worded, it doesn't make sense if you were to interpret these emails at face value. It has to be code for something else. So here's one that says, "Hi John," this is an email to John Podesta. The person says, "The realtor found a handkerchief. I think it has a map that seems pizza related. Is it yours?" They can send it if you want. I know you're busy, so feel free not to respond if it's not yours or you don't want it. So the pizza-related map, and again, keep in mind the code words on the left here. Handkerchief is not included here, but it's been referenced in other places that has been used as code for a child. Here's another one. Mary and John. This is to John and his wife. I think you should give notice when changing strategies, which have been long in place. I immediately realized something was different by the shape of the box, and I contemplated who would be sending me something in the square-shaped box. Lo and behold, instead of pasta and wonderful sauces, something assortment of cheeses yummy. I am waiting the return of my children and grandchildren from their holiday travels so that we can demolish them. Thank you so much. Well, I think most notable in this email is the PS at the end. He says, "Do you think I'll do better playing dominoes on cheese than on pasta. And again, keep in mind the code words on the left. That sentence, it just simply doesn't make sense if you were to take it as its straight meaning. Another one, the next 3 months are going to be rougher internally than in Beijing. Between 7th and 1600, no fun, hope you're doing okay. I'm dreaming about your hot dog stand in Hawaii. Another one, hey John, we know you're a true master of cuisine and we have appreciated that for years. But walnut sauce for the pasta, Mary, please tell us the straight story. Was the sauce actually very tasty? It's a separate one. I'm coming to town the week after next and I will bring some walnuts. This is one that I pointed out earlier. I think Obama spent about $65,000 of the taxpayers' money flying in pizza/hot dogs from Chicago for a private party at the White House not long ago. I assume we're using the same channels. And there's a response to this that's not included in this this graphic here, but the response mentioned something about if we have the same waitresses in quotes. So there's a innuendo about waitresses that's in response to this email. Wording again just seems flying in at $65,000 worth of.
So those were code words and messages from one person to another, and it's been exposed. So another thing about the symbols, that it was this one pizza place. I'm not going to say the name. I'm not going to get out the location, but they had a little symbol on a store, and it was believed if you see that symbol, that means that there is some form of child sexual activity in that place. And that's how it went from letters to an actual place. And they even showed a commercial with this guy leaving a pizza place. They seen a young girl standing there by the door. And the commercial was kind of bizarre itself. But it said, in other words, if you see something, say something. If you notice something, you know, I mean, there's no reason for a kid to be there or whatever the case may be. And then there was a protest about it. And then people came out saying that that the whole thing was conspiracy theory. It was debunked, you know. So a lot of reporters who jumped on the so-called bandwagon trying to get more information or just simply spread the word, they end up apologizing about it. So if anybody right now mentioned Pizzagate, it's pretty much shooting yourself in the foot and in your own career. And my thing on it was that, okay, so is this a cover-up? Because they show cover up the Pentagon thing. So now what's going on with this Pizzagate thing? Is it a cover-up or not? So there's not much dialogue going on about it. It's just all hushed up and
shoved under the rug like the rest of it.
Yeah. And even this guy, he's on our intro. The same guy is in the intro of our song is the same guy who is receiving these vague pizza messages. So that's what shook me. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. What? That's what tripped me out. So that made me look into this a little bit more. And it's mind-boggling and it's sad. And then at the same time, the reason why we going on this show, doing this show with this, is that this is slavery going on. Men, women, and children. Sex is just one thing. You don't know. I mean, when they get older, what are they doing? Are they got some type of farm or something where they producing children so they could keep this thing going on? Are they selling their body parts and organs or whatever? The sky is the limit of what you could do when you have full control of human beings and nobody's there to stop you.
I mean, it could get to the point. It could be scary if they're actually genetically farming these children, but I don't think that's the issue. I think what they're doing right now is they're taking advantage of the orphan children that have no oversight, and immigrants, for example, illegal immigrants. I think are being targeted for this type of stuff. Well, people that are not accounted for.
But you also have a rise of kidnapping. You have a rise of it was just like a couple of months ago they showed a video of this woman on Channel 9 News, a woman popping inside of a trunk. She managed to get the trunk open and jumping out. I mean, it's crazy. Washington D.C., 14 girls were missing in just in a couple of weeks. You know, it's just how much activity is going on and us being aware of it, you know. So we're not aware and we're going on our daily lives and all these things happening. The next thing you know, your child is missing or somebody you knew is gone and you're wondering the steps and the procedures of how long it is for you to get information about certain things that's going on when somebody's been abducted. That information is never really released. They say you have at least, 48 hours to report somebody lost?
24, but yeah.
24 hours to report somebody lost. So the child's been kidnapped. She could be 14 years old, 15, 16, 18, 20. God knows what. Within 24 hours, that's a 24-hour leeway.
Not only that, but to add to that, to something I had learned a couple of weeks ago, Trump is defunding a lot of programs. He's also defunding the program that identifies missing people.
So, in other words, Dr. Nothing, if I come to your house, abduct you, put you in a van, goes off to God knows where, before anybody can say anything, they have to wait 24 hours.
Yeah, 24 hours.
Yeah, so I have a whole day. I have a day ahead of any investigation. A whole day ahead of any, and not including the time when people discovered that you are missing.
Yeah.
So the time that they realize that you've been gone, and they have to wait 24 hours.
Whatever they wanted to do with you, consider it done.
Exactly. So you multiply that number from 1 to 20 to God knows how many numbers of these children, adults being into some form of slavery. And it's not just sex. It could be anything. So what I'm trying to say is y'all be careful out there. Y'all take care of your loved ones. Keep tabs on each other. Keep tabs on your women. Keep tabs on your children. And start being more aware of your surroundings. Start paying attention. And start listening to what other people are saying that's going on around you. Because it could be you that could be kidnapped one day. It could be somebody you know. It could be your own children. And if this is not scaring the hell out of you, then I don't know what's wrong with you. So we got another link that we're gonna play.
Yeah, we're gonna take a music break. It's about a 4-minute song.
Yes, this is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. Yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already?
The doctor delivered me and said I was a threat to the world and I should have been aborted. The prophecy read, I would avenge the dead, the spirits in pocket, bigger possessed. Lord, just bless me with armor, the battle, the karma, and shake all the drama, the world's in the palm of your hand. So I know you can protect me, I know it's the reason you bless me with venom that's deadly. When I spit it be hurting, it's burning. When I'm releasing the beast from the furnace, Father forgive me, I know I'm insane. We're using 200% of my brain, they living in chains, they walking restrained. Don't even look to the sky full of rain. So a drought is about to emerge. What the hell they gonna do without herb? Yes, I'm disturbed, cause we all living in times, but the way we living is blind. Father forgive us the sign. Cure epidemics and vision the blind. It's just a matter of time before I will summon my army of angels and demons and take what is rightfully mine. Like fruit from a vine, I pick them and get them and see them.
I think it's time to open the books on questions that have remained in the dark, on the question of government investigations of UFOs. It's time to find out what the truth really is that's out there. We ought to do it really because it's right. We ought to do it because the American people, quite frankly, can handle the truth. And we ought to do it because it's the law.
And the prophecy read that I would have multiple tongues, leader of the reptilian nation, spitting quicker than bullets from guns, direct descended from Area 51. You better open your eyes and look to the sky above us. They will mingle with the seed of men and now they among us. And the cover up is humongous. It appears they've been here for several years, they warned us about the coming of the Antichrist. You can't hide in the house tonight, they already know where you at. It's a new world order. They got underground bases in Texas and Florida. And the Majestic 12 is a group you never hear about, but pretty soon you will see the dark agenda. Don't surrender, pray to Christ and lock your doors and windows. Now into the tribulation of the nation we live in. None of the sins that they committed being forgiven, and now you will witness the sickest of men when the angels and demons collide in their
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
It was 3:15 in the morning, I woke up and looked out the window, but all I could see was a bright blue light. I was frozen and bright. Suddenly something came down from the right, and I felt as if something was taking me up. Thinking I'm dreaming, but I can't wake up. I blacked out and I woke up, I'm laying inside some kind of room on some kind of ride. Now it's a voice in my head that's telling me, don't be afraid, we are your family. I look to my left and my right, some alien beings. Man, this can't be. They pull up a screen and show me some scenes of things that's happening to me as I'm watching in disbelief. Some kind of machine is checking me from head to feet, so I finally asked without moving my lips, why in the hell did you pick me for this? He pulled out a gun and said that my tongue was quicker than bullets from this. I blacked out again and I woke up in bed. I looked over at the clock, it was 1:55. How the hell did I go back in time? And why do I feel like someone is controlling my mind? Heavenly Father, forgive me, I had no control of the power that's given to me. I'm a rider in spite of my treacherous past. I'm destined to clash with angels and demons. Man, what the hell is happening to me, man? Crazy.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen.
That was Mac Divinitz, the song Angels and Demons, and you may recognize part of that song. It's in our intro for our radio program, Obelus Skies. So you're listening to Obelus Skies, Q4 Radio, QE4.org, and in some places 1680 AM. We want to move and kind of segue. We talked about John Podesta being involved in this Pizzagate scandal. In 2002, he was trying to push for, and for a long time after that, disclosure in aliens. And, we're kind of unsure what this disclosure is and what it means. And being that it's kind of, he's associated possibly in this underground trafficking scheme. It doesn't really give him too much credit anyways. But there is a disclosure movement, and it's being passed on to Stephen Bazette. In 2013, he did a 30-hour testimony with the press club with 6 former members of Congress. That's 30 hours long of testimony on disclosure of aliens. My open question to you is this disclosure real, or is it controlled opposition? And I'll define controlled opposition. You give a little bit of the truth that people want, but you fill it with a lot of falsehood to mislead people in the direction you want to bring them. That's controlled opposition. You're giving people what they really want that they think is being taken or hidden from us, and putting a lot of falsehood into it. So we really don't know where this is going. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, like New World Order and New World Religion, to get everybody, under one peaceful establishment, when really there's a lot of this stuff going on under the undercurrents. People that are not accounted for are the ones that are being enslaved. So we're kind of living that New World Order dystopian vision right now. It's hidden under the rug, and slowly the veil is being revealed to us.
Yeah, it's like this huge thing that's on YouTube and on the internet, and that this New World Order is coming, and all these weird ceremony events happening at the Olympics and all that kind of stuff. It's like, it's already here, man. We're living in it. We was born in it. It's just that we're realizing all this weird stuff that's going on, all this abduction, drugs, slave trade, power struggle, stuff like that. But we're going to go on to this another YouTube link, and this is regards to Ashton Kutcher talking to the Congress about slave trade.
Yeah, this was recorded on C-SPAN somewhat recently, so here it is.
I'm here today to defend the right to pursue happiness. It's a simple notion, the right to pursue happiness. It's bestowed upon all of us by our Constitution. Every citizen of this country has the right to pursue it. And I believe that it is incumbent upon us as citizens of this nation, as Americans, to bestow that right upon others, upon each other, and upon the rest of the world. But the right to pursue happiness for so many is stripped away. It's raped. It's abused. It's taken by force, fraud, or coercion. It is sold for the momentary happiness of another. Now, this is about the time when I start talking about politics that the internet trolls tell me to stick to my day job. So I'd like to talk about my day job. My day job is as the chairman and the co-founder of Thorn. We build software to fight human trafficking and the sexual exploitation of children. And that's our core mission. My other day job is that of the father of two, a 2-month-old and a 2-year-old. And as part of that job that I take very seriously, I believe that it is my effort to defend their right to pursue happiness and to ensure a society and government that defends it as well. As part of my anti-trafficking work, I've met victims in Russia. I've met victims in India. I've met victims that have been trafficked from Mexico, victims in New York and New Jersey and all across our country. I've been on FBI raids where I've seen things that no person should ever see. I've seen video content of a child that's the same age as mine being raped by an American man that was a sex tourist in Cambodia. And this child was so conditioned by her environment that she thought she was engaging in play. I've been on the other end of a phone call from my team asking for my help because we had received a call from the Department of Homeland Security telling us that a 7-year-old girl was being sexually abused, and that content was being spread around the dark web. And she had been being abused, and they'd watched her for 3 years, and they could not find the perpetrator. Asking us for help. We were the last line of defense. An actor and his foundation were the potential last line of defense. That's my day job, and I'm sticking to it. I'd like to tell you a story about a 15-year-old girl in Oakland. We'll call her Amy. Amy met a man online, started talking to him. A short while later, they met in person. Within hours, Amy was abused, raped, and forced into trafficking. She was sold for sex. This isn't an isolated incident. There's not much that's unusual about it. The only unusual thing is that Amy was found and returned to her family within 3 days using the software that we created, a tool called Spotlight. And in an effort to protect its capacity over time, I won't give much detail about what it does, but it's a tool that can be used by law enforcement to prioritize their caseload. It's a neural net. It gets smarter over time. It gets better, and it gets more efficient as people use it. And it's working. In 6 months, with 25% of our users reporting, we've identified over 6,000 trafficking victims, 2,000 of which are minors. This tool is in the hands of 4,000 law enforcement officials and 900 agencies. And we're reducing the investigation time by 60%. This tool is effective, it's efficient, it's nimble, it's better, it's smarter. Now, there's often a misconception about technology that in some way it is the generator of some evil, that it's creating job displacement, and that it enables violence and malice acts. But as an entrepreneur and as a venture capitalist in the technology field, I see technology as simply a tool without will. The will is the user of that technology, and I think it's an important distinction. An airplane is a tool. It's a piece of technology. And under the right hands, it's used for mass global transit, and under the wrong hands, it can be flown into buildings. Technology can be used to enable slavery, but it can also be used to disable slavery, and that's what we're doing. I alluded to a phone call that we got from the Department of Homeland Security.
So that's Ashton Kutcher talking to the Congress, and he's pretty much laying down the groundwork of his software and how it works and how it can free thousands of people. And what we're doing is our part of making everyone aware of this slave trafficking that is going on, and to also let other people know that to be more aware of what's going on with your surroundings and what's going on in your communities, because this could happen to anyone, and this could be dangerous to the fact that if we don't start paying more attention, then more people will be abducted.
My question, though, is this software kind of answers the question originally. Let's go after the producers of this material. My question, though, is this software going to be used to go after the main channels? It seems to go after, like, the quote-unquote friendly uncle, so to speak, in the family, trying to find out, is it legitimately being used going after the big networks? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, and on top of that, you have to understand it's like the people who are using the software, how far are they allowed to go?
Right. How far is law enforcement allowed to go? I mean, I heard that with this going on in Hollywood, the police are corrupted and they either put a blind eye or they actually participate in this. Yeah. I actually know somebody personally, I won't give out any names, somebody that I met when I was hospitalized, one of the patients. He was, at the age of 14, he was put in jail for a day for acting out in school. They do that now. And a police officer sexually assaulted him. And he had to go through 8 years of therapy in order to recover from that trauma.
Yeah, that's just messed up.
And that was in Jefferson Park.
So John Postata is this guy who was in the letters of the Pizzagate scandal, who's also was one of the people who wanted to disclassify alien activity and he was also a
he was facilitating these communications and participating in what could very well be child trafficking.
Yeah. So we're gonna it's more I want to say, but at the same time it's just devastating. So we're gonna wrap this up a little bit, and then we're gonna move on to another topic. So bottom line is this: on our Facebook page, we have links which discuss the Pentagon, Pizzagate, and trafficking. And you just form your own opinion, and if you have the heart and the will to do something about it and make this knowledge known, please pass it around and share it on your Facebook. So right now we're going to move on to another topic, in which is the whole called of the show, Obelus. And I have some... Are you pulling it up?
Yeah, I'm pulling up these videos right now. I'm going to post them on our Facebook page, so you all have today's program sources and the videos that we're going to show, which are actual Obelus things in the skies. We could call them UFOs, but they're definitely Obelus, and they were filmed in Chicago by Gypsy King. So I'm going to bring that up on the Facebook. While I do that, Gypsy King's going to talk about it.
Okay. So what happened was I was outside, and I was going to Brickyard Mall. That's what I was going to, the Brickyard Mall. And long story short, I just happened to look up, and I started seeing these objects in the sky, and what appeared to be a airplane. So what I noticed was that it was going vertical, like straight up like a rocket, and it didn't stop. And I was like, whoa. So while I'm watching this, I noticed that it started to look like it was going to go out of the atmosphere, and then it started to level out and then shoot across the sky. So then I hop on the bus, and then I end up getting to the Brickyard Mall, and I see more of these. Well, I think they're drones. That's what I believe they are. You know, I don't know what they are, but I believe they're drones, and I've seen like 6 of them in Brickyard Mall. And so I recorded them, and then be posting them up now on Facebook. So you could take a look at it, form your own opinion, and if you happen to know what they are, please, respond. But it's weird, and another weird thing about it is that it's all over the place. I mean, I start to see them more frequently, and it's like, I wonder how come, or I wonder if anybody else has seen them, because it's not like you can't see them. They're in the sky. So yeah, just go to the Facebook page, and you will see the little rockets in the video moving around, or drones, or wherever they are called. So
we're going to close this program with a title by Themis Trapezoid. This one is called Different Times in Parallel.
All right, so y'all take care. Y'all be safe out there, and keep an eye out, and don't be docile. React, and fight the power, man.
Be diligent.
Thank you for listening to Obelus Skies, Troubled Ground.